Today we're going to uncover why some people completely rebuild their existence, while others remain paralyzed for years on end. This has nothing to do with intelligence, luck, or effort. It runs far deeper than any of those surface-level explanations. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that genuine change requires more willpower, better habits, or finding the right productivity hack. But that approach merely treats symptoms while the actual disease continues spreading beneath the surface. The real difference between transformation and stagnation is something most people never examine, something that operates so silently beneath conscious awareness that you've probably never even considered it a factor worth investigating. There is hidden architecture to human behavior that determines whether you will evolve or remain frozen. I want to lovingly but firmly call your attention to something uncomfortable, not in a degrading way, not through harsh criticism, and definitely not through aggressive internet guru theatrics. Think of this as someone who genuinely cares, grabbing your shoulders, looking directly into your eyes, and gently shaking you awake with uncomfortable truth. You are not missing potential. You are not lacking intelligence. You are not waiting for the universe to send you a sign. You do not need another book, another podcast episode, another journal prompt, another morning routine, or another organizational system. What you are missing is complete, unfiltered obsession. I understand that word makes people uncomfortable because we have been taught that obsession is unhealthy. And honestly, it can be destructive when directed toward the wrong things. But when you aim obsession in the right direction, it becomes focused energy, mental, physical, emotional, and behavioral energy, all channeled toward one destination. Think of it like a guided missile with a singular target that simply cannot be diverted from its objective. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. What are you already obsessed with? Most people are not free from obsession. They are just unconsciously obsessed with exactly what they claim they want to escape. They simply do not see it. This is the great tragedy of human psychology. We become devoted to our prisons without ever recognizing the bars that confine us. People become fiercely devoted to their limiting narratives. They obsess over why they cannot change. They fixate on their insecurities, their wounded identity, their historical stories. They defend the very identity that anchors them in place. Then when they say, "I genuinely want something different," the question becomes, do you actually? Because your actions speak louder than your words, and they are telling a completely different story. I watch people argue more passionately for their limitations than they do for the life they claim to want. Consider that carefully. The energy you spend defending why you cannot succeed is energy stolen from creating why you can. This is a zero-sum game, and you are losing on both fronts. How many times have you over-explained to someone exactly why you are not good enough? Why you cannot overcome your fears? Why your upbringing holds you back? Why external circumstances, the economy, your boss, society, your family, are responsible for your stagnation? It is always someone else's fault, something else's responsibility. With every explanation, you reinforce the prison walls a little more. People unconsciously become legal representatives for their own fear. They build elaborate cases, collect evidence, and present their arguments beautifully. This is just how I am. I have always been this way. I am not naturally disciplined. I am bad with money. I never follow through. I am a self-sabotager. Listening to this, I wonder, do you realize how much focus you actually have? Do you see the incredible concentration you direct toward proving your own limitations? You have developed incredible concentration abilities. You have simply aimed them in the wrong direction. You are laser-focused on who you used to be, rather than who you are becoming. Your focus resembles a high-powered beam capable of cutting through steel, but you have pointed it at your own chains. Think of life as having two distinct chapters. Everything from your birth until this present moment comprises Chapter 1. Everything from this moment forward can become Chapter 2. Yet many people keep rereading Chapter 1 obsessively, refusing to turn the page. They remain invested in their former self rather than their emerging self. They have memorized every painful line of Chapter 1 and recite it daily. This represents the critical distinction. Obsession is not something you occasionally consider. It occupies your mental orbit constantly. It is what your brain loops back to while driving, while showering, while walking, while lying awake at night. It becomes the background radiation of your consciousness, always present, always influencing your decisions. Think about your first real romantic connection, the person who completely consumed your thoughts. You were not casually interested, you were borderline irrational. You checked your phone like it was a life support device. Their name alone triggered your entire nervous system. You heard songs and immediately thought of them. You drove past locations and recalled shared moments. That was nearly unhealthy fixation, yet it demonstrated your capacity for complete devotion. Imagine applying that intensity to your own potential, to the person you are trying to become, to the life you are actively constructing. What would happen if you brought that same obsessive energy to your own development? What would shift if your future self became the person you could not stop thinking about? What if your identity, your vision, your standards, and your mission all started speaking louder than your fear? Here is what most people fail to realize. Your brain constantly rehearses the future. It runs simulations, predicts outcomes, and prepares responses. The question is, which future is it rehearsing? Is it the one you consciously want, or the one your default programming keeps running? Your brain does not distinguish between rehearsed reality and actual reality. It builds neural pathways for whatever you practice most frequently. Your default operating system is not neutral. Approximately 5% of your cognitive processing is conscious thought, the part that says, I want to succeed, and I want something different. The other 95% is your default mode. This includes old habits, existing fears, familiar excuses, emotional addictions, established patterns, and a comfortable but limited self-image. This default mode operates like gravity, invisible but powerful, always pulling you back to your established position. You can jump, you can climb, you can build structures, but gravity remains constant. Similarly, your default programming is always working, always pulling, always returning you to what feels familiar. Occasional effort cannot overcome this force. You require escape velocity. If you do not intentionally become obsessed with your future identity, you will automatically default to your historical identity. That is what your brain knows. That is its comfort zone, its efficiency zone. Your mind loves familiar pathways because they require less energy. Your brain is fundamentally lazy in the most efficient way possible. It conserves resources by repeating established patterns rather than creating new ones. Psychologists have identified something called goal shielding. When a person becomes deeply committed to a focal goal, a primary objective, a North Star, their brain begins automatically rejecting competing goals and distractions. It builds a protective barrier around that main intention. This is not willpower, distracted, or unfocused. Obsession actually solves that problem. It creates natural filtering. Your brain starts asking one simple question: does this serve my main goal or not? Then it filters accordingly. The chaos of modern life becomes organized around your primary objective. When your objective becomes important enough, your brain starts reorganizing reality around it. Your reticular activating system does this job. It serves as the filter that decides what you notice. This explains why when you consider buying a specific car, you suddenly see that car everywhere. Those vehicles were always present. Your brain simply was not prioritizing them before. Your entire field of perception rearranges based on what you deem important. This same principle applies to your desired life. Right now, your brain has been filtering everything through your old identity, old fears, old doubts, old interpretations. When you redirect your focus toward what you want and become fascinated with it, your reality begins rearranging around that focal point. Opportunities appear, connections emerge, synchronicities multiply, not because the universe conspires, but because you are finally paying attention. Most people never consciously direct this process. They wake up and their old programming automatically takes control. Old fears get the loudspeaker and broadcast all day. Old wounds dictate decisions. Old insecurities limit possibilities. Their future self stands in the corner, unheard, waiting for attention that never arrives. You cannot make your future self a part-time project. Your future identity must become the primary relationship, not an occasional consideration during a 5-minute journaling session. You need to divorce your old self and marry your emerging identity. This represents the fundamental shift that separates those who transform from those who remain stagnant. Consider this honestly. If you married someone but only spent time with them occasionally, made them feel unimportant, prioritized them inconsistently, would that relationship work? No, they would feel neglected. That is how most people treat their desired life. They give it brief, casual attention while giving their old patterns all their time and energy. Then they wonder why nothing changes. Old patterns have momentum. They have repetition. They have evidence. They operate lightning fast because they have been practiced thousands of times. Your new identity also needs repetition. It needs consistent reinforcement. You need to mentally condition yourself before external influences condition you into mediocrity. You cannot outrun years of programming with a few moments of intention. The external world constantly programs you. Your environment, your relationships, your memories, your body, your history. They all tell you who you are. If you do not consciously install new programming, the old programming will maintain dominance. Your subconscious operates at approximately 19 times the strength of your conscious mind. Occasional thinking will not create meaningful change. You need obsession-level commitment to override the existing operating system. This explains why I discuss reprogramming so frequently. We come into existence with physical hardware, and then life installs software, conditioning, beliefs, patterns. Some of us accumulated viruses that need removal. That is the work. You cannot simply install new software over corrupted files. You need to clean the system, remove the viruses, and then install fresh programming. You cannot always control your initial thought, but you can control your second thought. with enough repetition, not 30 days, not 60 days, but years of consistent work, the second thought eventually becomes the first thought. That is how genuine reprogramming happens. You are literally rewiring neural pathways, creating new defaults. The real question is this: are you willing to release your old life and its familiarity to create something new? If you are not fully committed, transformation will not happen. Obsession requires complete focus and devotion. It represents the ongoing choice to stop honoring your outdated identity and start honoring the future you are constructing. I use the word worship deliberately because some of you have built altars to your insecurities. You visit them every morning. You bring offerings of energy, attention, explanations, and dreams. You have made your limitations sacred and then wonder why you feel spiritually empty. You worship what holds you back and expect liberation. This is spiritual contradiction at its finest. You need to reclaim your authority. Stop being available for entertaining the same limiting narrative for the 4,000th time, as if it is your favorite streaming series you cannot stop watching. You know every episode. You know how it ends. Stop rerunning the same show. At some point you must declare, I have studied this fear long enough. I have played this role long enough. I have defended this identity long enough. I am finished being loyal to a version of myself that is not fulfilled, that is not authentic, that is not anywhere near my capability. This declaration is not just words. It marks the shift from passive observation to active creation. This represents the genuine breakthrough. Most people do not remain stuck because they lack knowledge. You know what to do. The fundamentals of personal transformation are not secret. You understand what is required. The issue is not information. It is emotional connection. You remain bonded to your old self rather than your new one. You are emotionally married to your limitations. Your assignment is to make your future identity emotionally real. Visualize them. Journal about them. Move like them. Speak like them. Make decisions like them. Think about them during mundane moments, driving, showering, walking. Ask yourself the difficult questions. What would the obsessed version of me do today? What would my future self refuse to compromise on? What belief do I need to stop holding to become that person? What am I actually gaining from remaining the same? That last question is uncomfortable because staying the same does provide something. It offers familiarity. It provides predictability. It gives you an explanation to avoid risk. It protects you from judgment and visibility. It keeps your aspirations perfectly preserved in imagination rather than exposed to reality. However, you will never become truly capable if you are unwilling to be unskilled initially. You will never become graceful without being clumsy first. Obsession does not mean frantic desperation. It does not mean punishing yourself or forcing yourself toward burnout. It means devotion. It means loving yourself enough to work hard for what you want. Wake up each day remembering that you are building something. You are becoming someone. Your existence is not random circumstances you passively respond to. You are the architect. Architects do not stare at empty land, crying because the structure is incomplete. They draw blueprints. They show up. They lay one foundation stone at a time, one decision at a time, one difficult conversation at a time, one workout, one honest reflection, one intentional action. Eventually, the structure appears, not because you wished for it, but because you became devoted enough to construct it. Here is your exercise today. Be completely honest with yourself. Ask, what am I currently obsessed with that maintains my current condition? You are obsessed with something. You direct focus somewhere. What fear, what belief, what insecurity are you feeding that preserves your situation? Then immediately ask, what must I become obsessed with to create the life I genuinely desire? Identify it clearly, then pursue that obsession. Think about it constantly. Take aligned action. One day, when you have done this consistently, you will notice patterns shifting, old software uninstalling, and you will know that is not who you are anymore. You will recognize you are evolving beyond recognition. You will ask yourself, who do I need to be? You will take that next step, not because you feel prepared, but because you are obsessed with the person and life you are constructing. That correctly directed obsession might be exactly what finally liberates you. Consider the cost of half measures. When you only partially commit, you create a painful gap between who you are and who you could be. That gap generates suffering. It is worse than being fully committed or fully resigned because you experience the pain of longing without the payoff of progress. Half-hearted effort amounts to psychological torture. Full obsession, on the other hand, brings clarity. There is no ambiguity, no internal conflict, no wondering what you should do. When you are truly devoted to something, decisions become simple. Does this serve my obsession or not? Your life becomes organized around a clear center. This is why obsession is not just useful, it is necessary. The world will distract you. Life will offer alternatives. Your own mind will suggest easier paths. Without obsession, you drift. Without obsession, you compromise. Without obsession, you settle for less than your capability. So I am asking you to choose, not casually, not conditionally, with full awareness that this choice will determine everything that follows. You have been given exactly one life, one opportunity to become everything you are capable of becoming, one chance to build something meaningful. Will you remain loyal to a version of yourself that is not even happy? Will you keep defending limitations that do not serve you? Will you continue rerunning old narratives that have never produced anything but frustration? Or will you finally become obsessed with who you are becoming? The algorithm has been paying attention to what you have been watching lately. YouTube analyzed your viewing patterns and determined this video specifically aligns with where you are right now. This is not random. It is perfectly matched to your current journey. If you want to continue exploring ideas like this and never miss content that speaks directly to your growth, make sure to subscribe to Philosophy Unfolded by tapping that button right now. Consider this your invitation to join a community of people actively choosing to evolve. Here is what I need from you. Like this video if it resonated with you. Share it with someone who might need to hear this perspective. Subscribe so we can continue this journey together. Philosophy Unfolded is committed to bringing you content that does not just inform, but transforms. What would shift in your life if you applied even 10%